Today's episode of the Mind Sculptors podcast is sponsored by TCG Player, your source for all your trading card game needs. Use our link in the description the next time you get your cards to help support the show. Today's episode is also made possible by our Patreon subscribers. If you want to support the show directly, head over to patreon.com/the Mind Sculptors and you can become part of the SCULPTY family today. Or if you don't want to do any of that, leave a like and comment on YouTube or a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts as an offering to Algorithm Jesus.
Welcome, everybody, to the Mind Sculptors podcast. I'm your host, Callahan. That's your other host, Ian. Which, by the way, Ian, did you know that Final Showdown doesn't work the way that we said it does with Oz's Oracle last week? Do you know that?
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if you were aware.
For sure. I got it because I put up a short even before our video dropped where I was like, oh, hey, Final Showdown is so cool because it works like this. And everyone was like, no. And I was like, oh, no, our video also said that. Uh-oh. Yeah.
The thing is it's like, it's not like just one comment you get about it, right? It's when you get something wrong, people don't just leave one comment and then see, oh, somebody else commented that. It's, hey, did you know that's not how that worked? Hey, did you know that's not how that worked? Hey, did you know that's not how that worked? And it's like, oh, no, please tell me. I didn't know. I love YouTube comments. So I do have a Lime Scooter update.
Oh my God, no.
Yeah. So this past weekend was Thunder over Louisville, which is a
you can't just make shit up like that on the.
No, I'm not making it up. I didn't know. So, OK, here's what Thunder is. Thunder is it's the Saturday 2 weeks before the Kentucky Derby. Because it's like the Derby is like a 2 week thing here. So 2 weeks before it, they have this big air show and then you do a drone show and then they do like fireworks over the river. It's cool. I didn't know it was happening originally. So the day before we live not too far from the airport and I'm like trying to like record some gameplay and stuff like that. You know, we've been playing a lot of MTGO and there is just everywhere. I have no idea what the fuck is going on. So I'm like texting Jeremy, just like, bro, why the fuck are there so many military jets around today? And it turned out they're practicing for Thunder over Louisville. And so Saturday, Cassidy and I decided to like drive around it a little bit. And the number of Lime scooters at this event, to be fair, if ever there was an event or something that was perfect for these things, right? Lime, it was perfect for it because it's like across the city, you know, a lot of streets are shut down. It's great. You can just like zip around on them. Perfect for that. But you know, I felt like a lot of them, it was kind of like the public front facing, side of the like mafia organization because nobody tried to take me out, even though I know I'm close to what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
So nobody tried to take me out, but I feel like that's because there were so many cops around. Like they know.
Yeah, it'd be too public. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it'd be too public. Too many people would have seen it.
Yeah. You're gonna wake up with your wife's not gonna be in your bed and it's gonna be a scooter.
One of my favorite comments last week was, why is there a set review in place of my scooter podcast?
So true.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So that was what we did last weekend. You, on the other hand, for the past like 10 fucking days have been on the road. You were in California and then you were in Texas. What have you been up to?
Yeah, so first half of last week, starting on Friday the
like 10 days ago.
5th.
Okay.
No, 12th. Yeah, 12th. Yeah.
So 10 days ago.
10 days ago. So that Friday, I got on a plane to LA. We landed in LA. We set up an entire studio in an Airbnb. We shot for 2 days straight, just episodes of Crybabies with a lot of really cool guests from LA. So there were people, actually, I'm not even sure if I'm supposed to say who it was, but a lot of really cool LA folks were there.
I know Lua posted pictures of a couple of them.
Okay.
When you guys were posting them on the story.
Yeah, there were some Beccas, there was some Joes, there was another Joe, there was Ashlyn Rose, there was Jimmy Wong, all amazing guests that I cannot wait for the episodes to come out for.
That'll be awesome.
Pretty good games too. Like, as like they're kind of, I don't know if I actually talk about it a lot here. I'm like their set director, right? So I like their judge and their set director. I do a lot of stuff behind the scenes. And so, there's always like those games where you're like, oh, this is going to be good. Like it'll be good for TV, that kind of thing. And those games where you're like, well, the editor is going to have to really bend over backwards on that one, and these were 8 good games. And I was like, this is good. This is good. I'm really happy.
That's awesome. So you were in LA and then, then
I got home Tuesday night at 10 o'clock, maybe a little later, actually. Had 7 clients on Wednesday. And then the next day, got on a plane to Dallas for Command Fest Dallas, which was very nice. I was out there with a lot of the Top Deck folks, many folks from TikTok, the app that I totally use all the time and am definitely familiar with. So I recognized, of course,
definitely received TikTok links from me.
Yes, I have received TikTok links, and I am definitely on the not Magic side of TikTok. So going and meeting all these TikTok influencers for Magic, I'm always like, oh yes, I know of you. Of course.
Yes, I am definitely familiar with you. I've watched What was your handle again? Yes. Don't worry. I'm not doing anything.
Yeah. Of course. They're like, yes. But no, it was nice. And then there was also people like Maldhound and Z and Veggie and all those lovely people who I love spending time with, Kuro. And that was great. And I got to see a lot of people I enjoy. It's nice also, like, when you're around the grinder side of the format a lot, it can be a little exhausting. So it's nice to be around people who just enjoy playing Magic. They're just doing it because they
don't have an axe to grind.
Yeah. Like there's no beef, there's no ego. It's just people playing Magic, and then sometimes other folks come up and they're really excited to meet you, and it's a good time. It's a pleasant experience.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. Well, that is great. The last few weeks, while you've been out doing that, I have been on Magic the Gathering online, grinding away at these leagues. And I've been going out of my way. I really, 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 really don't want to play one of my paper decks online so badly. This is where I want to be testing stuff and doing some of the more fringe ideas that I have. But I swear some of this a little bit recently, I've been like, man, y'all are going to make me play Tivit, aren't you? You guys are going to make me stop playing fun stuff and make me have to play Tivit so I can get some play points. But
it seems like it's been an interesting meta. So let's talk about it for a second. For those folks who aren't in the loop, because I actually had this come up recently where someone was like, I feel like MTGO was never this and now it is a thing. So for context, there was an initiative by the folks who run MTGO, right? To basically push for a bunch of creators to get these kind of God accounts like you have, right? And
I don't have it yet. I've been playing on my personal account.
Oh, you don't have that shit yet?
No, I don't have that yet. I've just been playing on my personal account lately. I am getting it.
Yeah.
But they're still in the process of getting all that stuff set up.
Interesting. Okay. Well, who am I to judge? So I guess that hasn't happened yet. But okay, so a bunch of creators are getting these accounts. Cal is currently using their own account because they're not out yet. And so that happened. And then 2 days later, they said, oh, by the way, they're doing cEDH leagues on MTGO, which is why you were suddenly seeing all of these people who are cEDH creators, all those folks just talking about MTGO when literally no one's been talking about it for years and years.
Ever.
Years, right?
Literally ever. Nobody ever talked about it because there was no league system for. There's no way to get like you could do like some like individual commander games in like a queue, but those would always be anywhere from like hyper casual decks to like the most you would see is maybe a high power deck, I feel like. And so it was super mixed what you would get there. But as far as the competitive league that they started, it's been good. It's been pretty good.
Yeah.
I can't complain about. There's a lot of things about it I can complain about. But the variety that you see, the like amount of decks that you come across, like I can't, like it's an interesting meta, which I think is interesting to talk about. So I think like the first thing when we talk about MTGO, like the first thing that's really important to like kind of remember is there is a level of manualness to it that makes a lot of things in this format that we would normally be like, oh, that's great, that's good, you've got it, GG. Where in MTGO, you got to play that shit out, baby. And that's not always the case. I will say one of the things that I have really appreciated about the league is that because it's a lot of cEDH like players who have played a lot, they're willing to just be like, yeah, you got it. If you can like throw it down. There are some people who don't do that, obviously, but for the most part, people are just like, oh, you've got food chain out and you've got this. And it's like, now that being said, because of the manualness factor to it, it does mean that stuff like food chain is not super great, and probably worth steering clear from.
And this is why I personally am not using MTGO at the current moment. Right. I just have a problem playing a format where half of the viable decks are not available for play, right? Like I think there is a significant amount like Food Chain, Dockside Loops, Kinnan, like I can go on for a really, really long time.
Dockside Loops are surprisingly easy to do.
Well, you say that, but I've gotten literal reports from people being like, yeah, well, one of my opponents conceded mid loop, the other opponents didn't concede, and now I don't have enough treasures to win, right? Like that's that is just a thing that can happen, and it's gonna, like, as much as it's happening during these leagues, if there's ever like a quote real tournament on MTGO, right? Like that just happens. Period. Right? Like that is just something that can realistically happen, right? So like there's a lot
of things about it where I'm like, I don't think it is perfect at all, but I think like for people like me, right, who don't really like to play webcam, it's a wonderful place for me to play because I can just like, if I want to, like a good example is I've been playing a lot of Ardenn Vial Smasher lately, which by the way, I'm going to talk about that more later. The deck is nuts. I'm actually very into the deck. But it's a lot easier for me to just try it and get like some immediate like feedback on it than it is where it's like, okay, well, when are people coming around? Is there enough people online right now to fire a webcam game? And somebody, you know, they are taking back stuff because of X, Y, and Z. Like there's all these because they're not like real games, right? And so like on here, you feel the mistakes you make very heavily, but you also like play through it. And I think that's like a good thing to learn how to do.
I agree.
Because like instead of just taking it back, you are now, oh shit, I did that. Now it's seared into your memory, that mistake you made. And you're probably not going to make that mistake again. I did that where I misclicked on a Godo, like extra turn or what is extra combat. And then I had to go through like a whole nother turn cycle before I could try to win again. And And like, that's a thing where it's just like, that happens.
And yeah, I can get behind that, that mentality, right? Like the idea of like, all right, let's push for that sort of like, let's lock things in, nice kind of play, right? And I do appreciate the accessibility of MTGO, right? Like, I don't want to make it sound like I'm completely off of this thing, right? And I think it's bad. Like, I think that it's nice for folks to be able to be like, using a chat function. You don't have to do a whole Discord call. I feel like most people aren't doing Discord calls, right, for it.
Oh, no. It's just all over MTGO. There's just a chat there. And some people don't even use the chat.
Yeah, right. Well, that's a whole other thing of like, oh yeah, here's a social format where we're not even talking, right? Like,
I will say most people do. Most people do talk stuff through. There are some people who don't, and those are the same people who even IRL don't talk. Yeah. So whatever. Like, that's fine. But I overall, it's been a good experience. I do have like some issues with like the interface is kind of clunky. Once you get used to it, it's fine. But it's not very like accessible to the lay person, I feel like.
Yeah.
The pass priority system is kind of unintuitive, and you can accidentally just have priority for a weird amount of time and run down your chess clock. Like, there's weird idiosyncrasies where you just kind of have to play MTGO a bit to get used to, so that you can get the rhythm of it down. Because there's definitely a rhythm to it, right? Like, it is like, once you get the rhythm of how like a game of Magic works on MTGO, it flows just fine. But it's getting that rhythm that I think is difficult. In what makes that barrier to entry a little bit harder. The other negative to it, and I think this is probably my biggest negative, is there are quite a few missing cards on MTGO. There are cards that aren't there. Not a lot of really important cards. I do want to make that clear. There's a lot of stuff that is just like, obviously, there's limited universes beyond stuff because of licensing issues. I get that. But there's like old Commander Precon stuff that's not on there, which is really weird.
Yeah.
So, and I remember I was talking to some folks in the RC Discord about that. And I know there is one of the things that the RC really feels strongly about is that Daybreak add those cards. So at least we have those full cards. But I mean, like, a good example is like the card Sacrifice isn't on MTGO. So it's like, if you're playing Dargo Timna, you need to find a different card, or you have one less piece.
Weird.
Card that, what'd you say?
I said, that's weird. Yeah.
Yeah. There's like a handful of just old ass cards that are just not there. Which makes some sense, because there are like some of the older cards that are like big, like players are like in Vintage Masters or like promos and such, or we're in treasure chests and on and on. But for the most part, like the stuff that we care about is on there for the most part.
Yeah.
I will say, as an Ardenn person, the lacking of Fallout is really fucking annoying, because one specific card you don't have access to, and that's pre-war formalware. And that card turns off so many fucking lines when you don't have it.
Right.
It's actually quite frustrating, because there's just so many things that you can do in paper with that card, where you can, I mean, it's effectively a white animate dead with no drawbacks other than like the CMC restriction.
Okay.
And so there's all sorts of things that you can do to get Godos and different things like that out of your graveyard into play. I think what I've been doing is I've been playing recently, trying to play like Animate Dead over that. Although I don't like Animate Dead as much, but that's its own thing. but overall, like I like it. I've been enjoying it. And Freedom Waffle's on a fucking tear. Dude has like 11 trophies. And I think the next closest is like 3, maybe, or 8, maybe it's more than that. But a lot of people he is just running circles around people.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how many like regular grinders are on MTGO. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know Spleen Face has got a trophy. And Rocket Man's got a trophy, but they haven't trophied since like the first week. So I imagine they just haven't been on since then. I have not trophied yet. A lot of that is because I'm just not good. So
I did a search. This is what I've been sort of doing in the background, is like what cards are not currently on MTGO for Commander, and like not a ton of them really stick out to me, you know?
Yeah, like for the majority of them, like they are niche cards.
Yeah, like a lot of the Dungeons and Dragons set seems to not be there for some reason. Battle of Baldur's Gate, like the entirety of it. So like, you know, if you're an Abdel Adrian main, sorry to break the news to you.
But the good news is that Menskin is there. So
yeah. Flesh Duplicate's not there.
Yes, that is a
Cultist of the Absolute is also not there.
Yes.
Oh,
so it does push you in a very specific direction with Sisay.
Well, not that you can loop with Sisay anyways, right? So
yeah. I mean, I know people have been winning with Sisay a lot, and that's been one of the
it just means like
Emil
Dockside not a good
backup plan, you have to what was it that Freedom Waffle and I talked about this, and I just can't remember what it was we talked about. We had like a big long talk because he and I played a handful of times over the past weekend, and we just like started DMing in the side during games and shit. But yeah, I mean, I've been enjoying it. I get that it's not everybody's bag, but I think that it's a good thing to have. And I think that overall, like, I think only good things for the format can come from that. I think it will. I still do think there will be a little bit of a learning curve on how like paper works a little bit. Yeah. But like for newer players, one of the benefits of playing on MTGO is the fact that you get a very visual representation of the stack. And it makes understanding how all of that works very, very, very easy, which I think is a huge bonus.
Well, does it, or does it reward people who have a basic understanding of it, right? Like, 'cause I don't think it's teaching them at all, right?
Well, I mean, it shows you the stack visually, so you can see how things are resolving and where priority is.
Yeah.
And I think that is a huge thing that I don't think people who only play paper and aren't judges or don't get super into the rules truly comprehend until they play something like Arena or something like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that doesn't even apply to multiplayer, right? So,
yeah. Well, and that's one of the things I really like about it is it shows like active player, non-active player, and how that goes around the turn cycle. I had one situation where there were multiple Shieldreds out, and I was cloning Shieldreds, and I was low on life and trying to draw cards to gain life, but there were the other Shieldreds triggers go before my Shieldred's triggers, so I died before I was able to like gain the life, and I was just like, oh, I guess that is how that works. I just didn't think about it.
Card bad.
I also, and this was a thing that I did confirm with judges. This is mildly off topic. So if somebody casts, Beseech the Mirror, and they bargain it, and somebody op agents it, that card goes to the player who casts the Beseech's hand, even though the op agent player controls the search.
Oh, they fixed that. Okay, so yeah, because fun fact, when it came out, there was like debate in the judge community about how that interaction worked. But yeah, that is That is eventually how that works. Yeah.
Yeah. The way that works is because of the way Beseech is worded. With if you don't cast it this way, put it into your hand. So if you ever op agent somebody's Beseech, just grab a fucking land. Like, like grab, and better yet, if you really want to be a dick about it, grab a fetch land, because then they can't even search off the fetch. Or
Mox Diamond. That one's always funny.
Yeah, that's also reasonable. But like either way, like I think
you grab a fetch.
Like a fetch land, if you have an op agent out, is like the best target ideally. But yeah, overall, good experience. I do want to talk about this Ardenn Vial Smasher deck though, for a minute.
Okay.
Because this deck is stupid. Let me share with you.
I'm interested in you sent this to me before, unless there's a different version.
Jeremy and I updated it a little bit last night, and this is the version I've gotten like 3 leagues in with this so far. Okay. And I've just been able to go like 2-1, 2-1, 2-1 with it.
I did Goldfish. Okay, so you already did the thing that I was hoping you would do, which is put another value equipment in there. Sick.
Yes. That was one of the things where, and this is one of the things that I like about MTGO, where like I sent the list over to Freedom Waffle and he was like, here are my changes with like what I think you should do. Yeah. And so I took those changes, tried them out, and then I sent the list over to Jeremy, and Jeremy was like, here's some changes to that. And then I tried those out, and like, that's one of the benefits I really like about it, is because like most of the like not core pieces, if you have the core pieces, you just have them, right? And then all the peripheral stuff, like I got Sword of Wealth and Power for less than 1 tick. Like it cost me $1.
Basically,
so it was just like it was perfect. But
no, that's cool.
Overall, I'm trying a few different things out with like the Urza's Battlethopter stuff, and Sigarda's Aid specifically trying to like give Necropotence a little bit more oomph, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know that it necessarily is needed, but I'm just trying it, seeing some of these like other slots where I'm just like, look, maybe this will work, right? Because the way it's been working is I've been avoiding Necropotence because of the fact that I just like don't have any great ways of winning off of Necro.
Yeah. It's Final Fortune or bust, basically, right?
Yeah, 100%. You got to be on Final Fortune, or you got to pull like Chance for Glory. But for those who are listening, the general conceit of this deck is this is a Mardu Ardenn Intrepid Archaeologist deck, and it is Turbo Godo. Like it is, all of my Ardenn decks these days are now just like Turbo Godo decks, effectively. With the idea being that you have just such an insanely good, you effectively have a 1-piece combo.
A plus Ardenn, right?
Yeah, like you get an A plus B, even though it technically has a 3rd piece, it tutors it on its own. So you really just have like an A plus B combo with Ardenn. The
same way that Spellseeker is a 1-card combo, this is a 1-card combo.
Yeah. And because of that, you're able to just hone the rest of your deck in a way that lets you, because your your win con package is so fucking small. It's 2 cards. You get to play a lot of really good cards around it, and you also get to just go lightning fast because you're in Mardu and you just make mana and tutor and and then Ardenn just draws you like a weird amount of cards. Specifically because of, everybody's heard it on this channel, Skull Clamp. The big thing with Skull Clamp that I have been doing a lot of is that Skull Clamp, specifically with cards that can copy Skull Clamp, are insane. Masterwork of Ingenuity and Skull Clamp, drawing 4 cards off of just clamping somebody's Esper Sentinel or Ragavan, or even better, Orcish Bowmasters. Yeah, I have completely like just spit out my hand, gone to combat, double clamped something, and refilled my hand. I mean, it's truly incredible what it's able to do.
Yeah.
And so because a lot of your draw engines require you to go to combat. There are a number of extra turn effects in the deck, so that if you get like a Godo after you do these things, or if you Gnaws on your end step or whatever, you're able to just go into your next turn and do the thing. And then, of course, you're in white, so you get all of the silence, Grand Abolish, sure effects, all that jazz. So it's pretty neat.
Yeah.
I've been enjoying it.
Yeah. So one thing I'm already noticing is like, I feel like the deck is half turbo Godo, half turbo Nas, and then also sometimes Clampy, right? So that's the only thing I like that kind of confuses me when I look at the list. I've always enjoyed this variant, and like we've talked a lot off screen about how the Mardu Ardenn variant is always one of the most interesting for me, just because of the fact that it has that sort of backup plan of just kind of going fast, and also, you know, you get that consistent tutor for Godo, right?
Yeah.
So that's sort of my thing with, like, I guess I'm proposing the question to you of like, what is your main game plan? Is it just the clamp stuff, or?
So most of the time on opening hands, I'm looking for, like, you want to be able to get Ardenn down fairly quickly, regardless of what else is around it. Yeah. Because it turns on both the Godo and your clamp plan. And so the mulligan procedure for it effectively looks like I am looking for turn 1 or turn 2 Ardenn with either a tutor for Godo that gets Godo down quickly, or a skull clamp, or a way to get skull clamp fairly quickly. So that's why you have stuff like Spell Shape or Steel Shaper's Gift, Urza Saga, where you're able to just kind of
get really them pretty quickly.
And then it lets you just kind of like play board police almost. And then, which is good. And then it clears the way for some of your attacks.
I mean, I did just goldfish this deck a little bit ago while we were just talking, and I got like a turn 2 Ardenn Stoneforge Mystic into a Skull Clamp. And I was like, oh, okay, like that's
okay. I guess I'll just draw 2 cards. That's cool.
Yeah, just that's the reliance on Skull Clamp does worry me a lot in the Ardenn strategies in general. I always want something more, which is why I'm glad you're playing Sword of Wealth and Power. I mean, there's also an argument about like, does Wealth and Power technically even give you advantage if you don't have anything else, right? But like,
I'm testing this right now. I also want to I also want to try out SoFi and this, but specifically the way that I'm approaching this one is I'm just like, we're just going to go full turbo brain on this one, and just see what happens. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But we're just going to try it and see how it works. And so far, it's been okay. I haven't got to play Sword of Wealth and Power very much, but a lot of the stuff around it I have been able to play a good deal.
I wonder why no Jessica's Will in the deck.
I don't have Jessica's Will in the deck.
It feels like if Turbo Godo is like a big plan for us, right? It feels like that fits.
That's a oversight. I should be on Jessica's Will. Shows you how often I play red, right? And I do have to say, like, a lot of thanks to both Phoenix and Freedom Waffle, who have been helping me work on this over the past week. It's definitely feels a lot smoother than when I started off like 10 days ago with it.
Right.
But overall, I really appreciate that. And then also, like, a lot of the kind of Mardu technology, I took a lot of it straight from Zine's, what is it? The Hada list. I don't know why I blanked so hard on that. But yeah, so that's kind of what I am thinking. There's some cards in here that I think are probably cuttable. I think like Liberator's a good one to like play Jessica's Will over, right?
That's what I was thinking too.
But overall, I really like where the deck stands. And I do agree with you. I do want more. I do think that it needs another value equipment. That isn't just clamp, because that is a huge thing. I will say, once you get double clamps online, it's It's a time, let me tell you.
You're a goober.
I was sending you and Phoenix like screenshots of me playing this. Just being
I literally have gotten like no other context about this deck, honestly, from all weekend, except for just pictures of you being like, I wonder what's going to happen next. And then it's a bunch of X1s and a skull clamp. And I'm like, I wish I knew anything else about this deck. I'm just getting screenshots of things about to get fucking skull clamp. It's the whole deal.
Well, it's great because when you're going last and you keep this hand where you're like, man, if nobody plays an X1, it's going to really suck. And then you see people play multiple X1s on your before you. You're like, oh, baby.
Yeah. I have noticed, and correct me if I'm wrong here, it seems like a lot more like, I would say the nicest way, like random, very fringe decks are in these leagues.
Kind of.
Yeah.
So my experience has been that for the most part, it's like a lot of people playing Rogsai, a lot of people playing Tymna Kraum, a lot of people playing Tivit. And then there is like a handful of like mono green players.
Yep.
Specifically Marwyn is popular. Which I love to see which I love seeing because I see them throw a Marwyn down and I'm just like clamp.
That's like such a weirdly specific deck. I feel like that's like not even in the cEDH zeitgeist 95% of the time. But like
I have been told that outside of the States, Marwyn is a much bigger presence.
Really?
Yes. Okay. I don't know why, but evidently Marwyn elsewhere is much more popular.
Interesting. I wonder what elsewhere entails, like if there's any like specific regions.
Yeah. I will also say I've run across a few rogue, like somebody was playing a Marchesa deck, but I don't think I haven't seen it since.
Grixis Marchesa or
like the original Marchesa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it was like very clearly not a cEDH deck in that game. And it was just like, okay, I think you are in the wrong queue.
Yeah.
But overall, like even the more fringe decks have been like doing something cool and unique. Like the Nekusar deck has been up to snuff.
Yeah.
Like all of the decks for the most part have been up to snuff. So there's somebody who's what is it? Who's playing? Trophied a few times with what's the vehicle commander? Why am I blanking so hard?
Shorikai?
Yeah, Shorikai. There's another person who's trophied a couple times with Captain Sisay, the original one.
Okay.
And so like you're seeing a lot of stuff, but I don't feel like it's anything that you wouldn't see at a tournament for the most part. There's a few random wild shit you'll see, and that's just kind of your online, man. I don't know what to tell you.
Sure.
But for the most part, it's like pretty like standard issue stuff that I've been seeing. I've running into a lot of Atraxa lately, which is like kind of annoying, but like whatever. So I played against a deck that I haven't thought about in a hot minute, but Kazuro Kima I played against last night.
Okay.
Hadn't seen that deck in forever and was just like, oh, hey, that's a deck.
And the deck that's going to struggle on MTGO. Nice.
Yeah, seriously. What a rotten deck to play on there. I originally started off playing Atali, like literally just your 99 on Atali, and that is an absolute nightmare to play on MTGO. Fuck no, never again. Even though the deck is so much fun, you just have so many goddamn triggers you got to put on the stack, and it's so tedious.
Well, that and all of your win cons are unusable.
Yeah, I mean, they're not unusable. They're just, it's specifically when I tell you not to play food chain, it's not because you can't food chain win. It's because it's fucking tedious to food chain win.
Right, but so like the idea of clicking through and exiling everyone's deck with a Tali sounds awful. Like,
it is. It truly is. So that's kind of been my experience. I think that's also why I kind of pivoted over to playing like Ardenn Vial is because I'm like, oh, well, this will at least do a thing. And then I know that there's like a handful of dork decks running around. So like I can prey on those decks.
Right.
I do think it's very funny how good Ardenn is against Bowmasters, because I've had multiple people be like, okay, I'm going to, in response to your clamp trigger, Bowmasters your Ardenn. And it's like, okay, sure, whatever. Next turn, replay Ardenn, clamp your Bowmaster. You just aren't worried about it. It's great.
Yeah. It's pretty nice.
That's the secret tech, guys. If you want to get out of the Bowmasters meta, just play Ardenn.
Just play Ardenn, yeah.
Just play Ardenn.
Or just don't draw cards, you know? Yeah, that's what they all want you to do. They all want you to sit there drawing your cards. What if you just don't? You know what I mean?
What if you just didn't actively feed a Mystic Remora that has no cards in hand and you have no payoffs? You only have mana in hand.
Cal, I feel like you might be traumatized from this.
Listen, dude, I swear to God, I see it too often. Yeah,
that's why like every spell you got to be like, bro.
It's enough slices. So you kind of pivoting a little bit. This is kind of a grab bag type of episode.
Yeah, we're grabbing bags here on the Mind Sculptors.
We're grabbing sacks.
Wait a minute.
So you have a tournament this weekend that you're trying to figure out what to play.
Yeah, I got Lotus Series fucking whatever number.
What currently are you considering?
Well, that's a good question. I was kind of hoping you would sell me on Ardenn Vial Smasher so I can finally break through that for you. But to be honest, all you've said is Skull Clamp for 40 minutes, so I don't know. Okay,
well, let me give you the real sales pitch. Right?
Elevator pitch me for sure.
The elevator pitch for this deck is that you have an A+B combo in the command zone that is really easy to tutor and get online. You also just get access to the best win cons that Black really has. You get all of your normal ad nos lines that layer really nicely with this equipment package. And then your commander offers you a lot of card advantage that is able to work on an axis that most decks are not really able to deal with. Okay. So a lot of decks are just kind of like I just said, right, about the Bowmasters thing. A lot of people will be like, oh, you're drawing a lot of cards. I'm going to Notion Thief you, or I'm going to do this thing. And your response to that is, that's fine. I'm going to clamp that. Or that's fine. You played a Shieldred. I have this Helm of the Host. What if we just made our own? And so you have that ability to just kind of be able to mid-range in a way that I feel like only decks that aren't in Mardu are able to, if you need to. So when you so it's kind of like that thing where when we talk about like Rogsai and how Rogsai kind of runs into a brick wall after a certain point if it runs out of when it runs out of cards on win attempts. Right. Ardenn is able to just kind of get back into the game. I liken it similarly to like Malcolm Vial Smasher in a way. It works very similarly. Honestly, you just have white access instead of blue.
That's pretty good sell. I'm not gonna lie. I want to do something fast, I think, for the weekend.
Yeah, I definitely get that. And let me tell you, this deck is quick.
And I also like that it does have that creature combo pivot, right? I don't know if I love the equipment that you play in it all the time, right? But like I respect them. The other thing is I was thinking about, but this is like, it's a Lotus series, right? So the prize payouts are pretty decent on these things, right? So I'm not sure how deep in the sauce I want to get for brewing. But I've had this colorless deck that I've been trying to brew for a while.
Oh, no. You're really going to tell me you're not sold on Ardenn and then pitch me on a colorless deck?
I didn't say I'm not sold on Ardenn. I respect the deck. I'm not sold on my spirit. My spirit isn't moved by Ardenn. You know what I mean? Like my soul feels unshaken.
Well, it sounds like you haven't clamped enough stuff yet.
It sounds like maybe I haven't given people enough clamps.
You clamp an opponent's Esper Sentinel enough times, and you start to feel it deep down inside.
You start to really question a lot of things about yourself. Sure, I can give that. Honestly, I definitely could get behind some clamping. I don't know that I'd play the exact 99 you have going on right now. just because I really fucking, there's a lot of Final Fortune effects, and that does not make me spark joy.
Oh yeah, I don't love them either. But like, again, like I said, like this is very much a brew where I'm like, okay, what if I just take the full turbo and go with it, right? And then I'm very open to being wrong on that end.
Yeah. And once again, I don't think it necessarily is, right. I think it's fascinating, right? Yeah. Also, I hate the reanimation part of it. I do despise that so much, but I understand.
Well, there's no oil retainers in this.
Yeah, no, I meant the like entomb, reanimate, animate dead stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean it's just kind of there because like you're in black, like why not, right? Like it just like makes you're able to turn 0 win because of that, right? Like if you are able to just go like on the play, land Jeweled Lotus, like Dark Ritual, Entomb, Reanimate, Ardenn. We have a Godo now, and the game is over.
Sure, yeah, and you can sculpt a magical crypto land.
Sure,
hand.
but like that's not a hand that is like that unreasonable, right? Like it is a bunch of cards that you would see in an opening hand. So it's not like I'm painting like a ridiculous picture here, right?
Yeah, you just need like 6 specific cards,
right? Well, I'm telling you, like, like the absolute. Like to the moon potential of it, right? Yeah, on average, you're realistically looking at it on turn 2 is when it really likes to push for win attempts.
Okay.
But like, I think the ability of that is what makes like the Entomb Reanimate package appealing, because you then don't have to have the full Godo cost, right? Lets you cheat Godo in. And I think that to me is the reason to play like the black over playing something like green, which lets you tutor it more efficiently, right?
Honestly, I have like I would kind of get behind an Ardentana.
I also can too. It's a deck that I want to test because I think like I don't know that I like the build that's like on the database where it's a stack.
Yeah, I don't like the popular build. To be honest,
I think that if you were going to do it, you build it almost like this, but you just
like Teamer Malcolm almost, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah. Honestly, I made that comparison earlier, but the more I've been playing these decks in leagues, the more I'm like, God damn, these remind me of Malcolm decks.
Godo Ardenn is very similar to Malcolm. Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah. And I really think more people need to take it seriously because I think that it has legs and is like a serious deck. I don't think this is a meme. It's like even Ardenn Crom with this technology, right? Like built this way, can do really well. You just you're kind of like all of the things, right? Where the pitches on the different what's your third color, right? Black gives you more win con consistency and better overall general tutors. Green gives you better creature tutors and better to the battlefield tutors. Blue gives you better card advantage and gives you protection spells. And so it's which one do you want? And I think that's kind of the
question.
The question. Otherwise, I think most of the deck stays the same.
The Night variant I'd actually be kind of interested in fucking around with. I think it might be fantastic to just like explore, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Me too. I think all of this, like, and I know I've talked a lot in this episode, but the point being that I'm trying to impress upon you and on the audience is I think like this red white Godo Ardenn package is like a real package, and then you just kind of gotta find like how to build it correctly. And it's kind of like with Malcolm, right? Which is how many pirates is the right amount of pirates to play with Malcolm. And I think that's the exact same thing with the equipment thing is you're kind of trying to find that balance.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's a really interesting case of like, you know, I think the deck was so associated with building it one way for such a long time. And now the formats change and the metas change and all of those things. And that way doesn't work. Right. And not that way worked exceptionally well in the first place, but at least worked. Right. I think it's a matter of like, okay, what's the optimal restructuring kind of look like? Right.
Yeah.
Which is why I've always liked the Ardenn Vial variant the best. And Cal can attest this. This was years ago. I was saying that when they were working on this, I was excited about that version. Right. So,
yeah. And I think the only reason I stepped away from it was just like at the time, like I just really didn't have a whole lot of interest in playing a turbo strategy.
Right.
And like that was pretty much it. But other than that, like, I mean, it's wild. Like one of the things that I've always complained about in playing Mardu, I do like Mardu. I've played a good deal of like Bad Farm and stuff like that. And even in like a Timna Mardu deck, I'm just kind of like, man, I really need cards. I never feel that way in this deck.
Yeah.
I always have cards.
Always be clamping.
I mean, I don't know if you saw I changed the description of it. I did have the description as always be clamping at one point. And in this one, I changed it to I can't count.
Yeah, I did. I was amused by that.
But yeah, I mean, that's my elevator pitch, I guess. It's really more of like a lunchtime pitch, for being honest. It's like a
fun little snack, you know what I mean?
A fun little snack. I don't think it's anything that's like going to be like a new top 10 deck or anything, but like I think like it's like a Malcolm deck, honestly. That's how I feel about it. So
yeah, no, I can definitely get behind it. What's also been fascinating to me lately is the Kit and Natali synergies. So many decks are just like trying to jam that in the 99, and it's
I've been seeing a lot of Rog Thras. It's interesting.
Yeah, that deck's been picking up a lot for sure. I definitely want to give that deck a spin sometime soon. I actually used some of the tech because I saw Rebel playing Earthcraft in her Rog Thras, and I put Earthcraft in Natali, and whoa, my god, like holy shit. Earthcraft and Natali is insane. And it's like, sometimes you do want your board state untapped, but other times you're like, okay, well, I've hit a bunch of dorky fucking creatures that don't actually do anything. Let me play as Earthcraft. And now suddenly I have a Cloud Sunkura line that shouldn't work. You know what I mean? Like that's just, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. That is absolutely, I hadn't thought about that, but that's really, really wild.
Earthcraft plus Team or Sabretooth plus Mind Goblin turns into a win con too, which is very funny.
Fucking name sticker Goblin.
Yeah,
hate that card, man.
You need the 6, or no, because you need green from tapping it. You need 2 generic, and then 1 generic, and then 2 in red.
Do you want to know what I did learn about the name sticker Goblin that I did not know?
Tell me.
For playing this past week against it, is that you can stop it while the ETB is on the stack by like destroying it while the ETB is on the stack.
Really?
Yeah, because
there's nothing there to put a sticker on. Yeah,
there's nothing to put a sticker on, so the sticker never goes onto it.
And then the last known information is that there's a sticker of 0, right?
Exactly. So like I saw somebody path a name sticker Goblin in response to the trigger, and I was like, I guess that does work, huh?
Interesting. That is like really fascinating.
I guess that is an ETB ability, huh? That does require a thing be put onto it. That's interesting.
Life's crazy.
But that's like one of the things, not to derail that conversation, but that is one of the things that you kind of learn by like playing Moto a little bit, is just like because of how the stack is so clearly represented. You're like, oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's truly fascinating.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think Earthcraft and Rog Thras seems interesting.
Oh yeah.
But don't you have to play like a bunch of basics then with it?
You play like 1 or 2.
Okay. I like it more in Natali, I think. I'm more sold on it in Natali because that seems like a slam dunk in that deck where you're already playing like a fuck ton of basics.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. That's interesting. I don't know how much I like the Italian Rog Thras.
Nah, man. Just let it happen.
I don't know. It's something.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see. I guess when this comes out, we'll have already known what you play this weekend.
It's true. Yeah. There will be information that everyone will have, and you'll have to see what information that we have gained.
Find out next week on the Mind Sculptors.
Woo.
Well, Ian.
Yes.
You mentioned earlier that you've been swamped with doing coaching. So if people want to get on your schedule, how can people do that? How can people edge in on the schedule?
Yeah, no, I'm at the point where this week I've had to be like, hi, how much do you need a session this week? But yeah, if you would like to contact me and get cEDH coaching, you can do so in a number of different places, which Callahan's also lovely about posting in the description of this video. But you can find me at comedianmtg@gmail.com, Twitter at ComedIanMTG, and then comedian_MTG over on Discord. Do gameplay coaching, which we did a new form of that's been really successful, where I don't play the coaching and I just sit there and observe everybody. And then I leave with like a notebooks full of notes, which is awesome. And then we can break down stuff like that. We started doing like tournament round timer simulators too. It's been all working out really, really well.
That's awesome.
I'm really happy about that. And then I also do one-on-one coaching, which is a lot of like deck building and or tournament preparation, political, machinations, all of those things, how to get people in the right competitive mindset. I mean, literally one of my most successful clients recently was a player who was just like, hey, I keep hunting at the last minute and I know I do. And it was just like going over the process and like how to reevaluate, how to pivot, like all of that stuff. So it's all been really cool, great stuff. So I'm very happy about it. Had 2 clients back to back win online tournaments, which was pretty hot. So it's been a good week for coaching. If you're interested in signing up, find me at any of those places. I'll talk rates, signups, all that stuff.
Yeah. If you want to support us here on the Mind Sculptors, make sure to head over to patreon.com/the Mind Sculptors. Can also, if you're buying any singles, head over to our TCG player affiliate link down in the description as well. I don't get a ton of money from that, but if you use our affiliate link, we get something, which is much appreciated. And always make sure you leave a like and comment. Let us know what you thought. If you've been playing Moto online and been playing cEDH on there, what are your thoughts on it? What are your thoughts on this Ardenn deck that we talked about too? I will leave a link to it in the description as well. And what do you? I guess I can't ask people what they think you'll play because you will have already played and that would be public information. So I don't know. What do you think the next chapter in the Lime Scooter saga is going to be? Leave that down in the comments. Well, with that, I'm Cal.
And I'm Ian.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.